Mans is one of the biggest races in the world. It's grueling not only physically but mentally. You have to kind of fight through that to then at the end realise how amazing it was.
So Ollie, yeah, thanks for coming and having a chat with me. Very much appreciated. I'll jump right in. Can you tell me about your first experience at Le Mans? What did you feel? How did you get on?
Yeah, so my first experience at Le Mans, I'd never even been. So the first time I went to the town, let alone the race, was when I had my first race weekend. So hadn't been to spectate or anything like that. I'd been so kind of channel focused on Formula One at the time that when Formula One didn't happen and I ended up going to European Le Mans and we ended up becoming champions that year, that was my first Le Mans 24 hours. So for me it was so overwhelming in so many different ways, because we arrive a week and a half before the race weekend, which I was used to turning up on a Thursday and then you're gone by Sunday night. And turning up the week before and seeing a town so full of kind of 500,000 tourists, mostly English, and all there to support this crazy race. I realised how not necessarily underprepared, but underprepared for how big it was going to be. I was prepared for everything that I needed to do on track, but for nothing that was going to happen around it.
So quite a show which you've got to be prepared for in that respect.
The driving part on track is obviously what we all prepare for, and when we go on the simulator and when we're training beforehand and mind coaching and everything else that gets involved, is everything for what's on the track when you actually get in the car and get your bum in the seat, and then all those distractions disappear and you can do the thing that you're there for. But underestimating everything around it is definitely something that after you've done it once, I think is what kind of helps you prepare for the kind of next 2, 3, 4, 5 that I did.
In your opinion, among all the other things, but what's the main thing that makes Le Mans so special to you, that makes it so different to all the other races?
I guess the endurance aspect is obviously key. It's in the name. It's grueling not only physically but mentally, because most other endurance races now have floodlit tracks. They're on a circuit which is a permanent circuit rather than a road, a circuit that progresses through the week from being kind of dusty and dirty and obviously gets opened each evening to cars and everything just coming over it. That when you actually get to the race and you're a fair few hours in and you're drained and tired and exhausted, and then it rains and you're on slicks and you're in pitch black and all your reference points have been crashed into by the cars, so you have no braking markers left on the track, and then it becomes a mental race rather than a physical race from kind of the halfway or 3/4 way point onwards. Race-wise anyway, it's hard to enjoy it until it's happened, and then you look back and you realise how lucky you were to do it. But at the time, it's painful and it's miserable. I'm not selling it, am I? It's painful and it's miserable and it's tough, and you're always fighting, whether you're 10 laps in the lead or 10 laps behind and trying to catch up. It is tough and grueling, and you have to kind of fight through that to then at the end realise how amazing it was, and it's truly emotional, and that's why you get these tears on the podium from a lot of these drivers that don't show too much emotion beforehand, because mentally and physically exhausted, and you realise what's just happened.
Momentarily we're going to go and have a go on the simulator on the Le Mans circuit, which I'm very excited about. Is there anything in particular I need to be aware of?
Well, the track's very, very long compared to any of the other tracks on the calendar. So the same advice from the simulator would be for in real life, and even more so when you actually were to get to the track, is because of the 3 sessions that you've got, making use of every single lap, so making sure that you never do the same thing twice. And what I mean by that is, for instance, if you're braking at whatever the 150 meter board and you make the corner, that you make sure, both in real life on the sim, the next lap you try, even if it's 5 meters later, to try it, and keep trying it until you don't make the corner, and then you know you found the limit. Because everyone's made the same mistake before, including me, that you get to the race, and if there's one particular corner due to traffic or the allocation of time between the drivers on track that you never quite push the limit to, the race, it's a bit too late to try that because you can't run wide then. You can't risk that. So once you've found the limit of the brakes in Le Mans, the limit of your brakes won't be to the first left here, so brake. The limit of your brakes will be all the way into the right, so you kind of want to be on the limit all the way to about here, and then you want to be on the gas on the way out.
Oh,
and if you feel like you need gas between the left and the right, then you know you can brake later.
Okay. So the race itself, how physically demanding is that? I mean, you talked about how how tough the build-up is, but the actual race itself, once you're in the car, is it more relaxed or?
It sounds strange to say because obviously Le Mans is one of the biggest races in the world, one of the top 3 for sure. The over one lap, Le Mans is not a physical circuit. It's a lot of straights. The downforce is very low on the car, which means you can't brake as late as you would do if you were driving at a circuit of the Americas, for instance, where you have a bit more downforce on the car, which is a lot more of a physical track. But over that, obviously, full day period, that 24-hour period, it becomes the most physical race we do all year, and mentally, obviously draining as well. Over one lap in qualifying and leading up to it, and the first time you go, you kind of think to yourself, okay, physically it's not too bad. It becomes bad. If it was a 6-hour race like the other races, it would be physically the easiest race on the calendar. But purely mathematically, because it's 4 times as long, it eventually ends up overtaking those other races.